You are putting so much thought into the impact of this tit for tat, let's call it. But what ultimately do you think the US can achieve here for its US big tech companies with the threat of tariffs? Anything?
Well, I think Kayleigh did a terrific job of explaining what the issues are here, Caroline. But at the root, there is a sea change in what tariffs are all about that could be forthcoming. We don't know what's going to happen exactly tomorrow, but if this discussion of responding to regulation comes through, traditionally, tariffs were imposed to protect production. But on February 21st, the president issued instructions to his tariff enforcers, instructing them to deal with how can they protect big tech profits. So the move from protecting production to protecting profits, as I said, is a sea change. And if we see that tomorrow, undoubtedly the EU is going to respond. And this won't be the first step. There will be next steps. And we're entering a world that we really have not experienced before.
Can you go into how you've thought about this might even work? Because there's one thing about tariffing a product, but tariffing data flows, how does one do that?
Exactly. There's a huge difference between cars and champagne and zeros and ones, right?
Shame, but yes.
And so you know how to tariff a bottle of champagne that's coming in. How do I respond to zeros and ones? And particularly, I think there's two parts to that. One, how do you respond when those digital services are going out of the country into Europe, where they're being regulated, rather than being brought in from Europe like a bottle of champagne? And sure, you can go after European companies like Bookings.com and those, but that's the tip of the iceberg. That's small potatoes. How do you deal with? You then have to how do you deal with data flows? You then have to get down to the question of, okay, let's just think about this. Where are the data flows in and out of the EU? Well, they're financial transactions, even more than digital services activities. So do you put some kind of a tariff on those flows? Do you put some kind of a tariff on when information is accessed in American databases? I mean, there's a whole new world that we're entering here. You know, the United States dominates the cloud services market. When you access a cloud service provided by an American company, is there a tariff on that?
Right.
I mean, this move from hard goods to soft goods is revolutionary. And as I said before, what happens tomorrow is just the first step, not the last step.
So take us through a few more steps, and whether ultimately the desire to retaliate, to protect profits, could actually backfire, could end up making us more bifurcated with Europe.
So the fascinating question here, Caroline, is, will Donald Trump make European tech great again? Because of the fact that he is creating reasons to sever relationships with American tech companies. You know, the underlying theme of the relationship between the US and Europe has been around security. And the European countries have all recognized they have to step up to their own security. But what is security today? You know, sure, you can switch from making cars to making tanks, but that doesn't reflect, for instance, what's been going on in Ukraine, where it is not expensive, heavy weapon systems like tanks that are decisive, but inexpensive, software-based systems like drones. And so we've seen a change in the battlefield, where it used to be that software supported hardware, kinetic hardware systems. Now you have software instructing that hardware what to do.
Right.
And you've got to believe that the Europeans, as they go to increase their defense capabilities, aren't going to ignore the fact that it's not just hardware anymore, it's software. And can we rely on United States software service providers?